and welcome to the latest episode of From the Rubble, my post-apocalyptic modded Minecraft, heavily modded Minecraft Let's Play, where I'm trying to first survive and then put together the remnants of a broken civilization. So, if you've been watching previous episodes of this, you know that this place can be pretty deadly, and quite frankly, I've been, except for a couple of exceptions, I've been quite fortunate in surviving here. 3, 4, water. And we're now finally at a point where I have the basic base fully enclosed, and we've almost got the space inside the walls filled in. So as you can see, I am expanding my agricultural options, and basically the current compound is 2, 3, 4 is 8 chunks in size, and I'm going to use 6 of those chunks for agriculture, and the remaining 2 chunks will be for wood production and a windmill to get the technology ball rolling. But this is exciting me. I mean, this is really exciting me. And this kind of comes on the heels of big excitement brewing across all my series, because we're reaching what I call the end of the Momentum Hump. And yeah, that's not a commonly used term. I've basically made it up to you, but the whole idea is the oops, I gotta fill this in. Hold on. The whole idea is you've probably experienced the Momentum Hump. You just didn't know it, right? So you start a new game. Let's say Minecraft, but it applies to pretty much any of these type of building games. You start a new game. And the first day you gotta survive. You gotta build a rudimentary shelter, get some very basic tools, and find some very basic foodstuffs. And generally speaking, that's kind of exciting. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who admit that they're kind of like New World get established junkies, right? That part. It's fun. It's exciting, right? You pop into a new world. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what the possibilities are. You're looking and finding new things. It's fun. But that excitement dies in 10, 15, 20 minutes. And now that you got the absolute basics out of the way, now it's a matter of, not just surviving. Now it's a matter of kind of building what you have, so that you can actually thrive, right? And the difference is like on that first day you might find some apples and knock some wheat seeds and plant some wheat. That's it. You have some wooden tools, maybe some stone tools. You have a mud hut, dirt hut. Tin. Okay. But in the next few hours, you go to where you've done some exploration. Maybe you have some more advanced tools, possibly iron. You have some storage set up. You've gone from a little mud hut to iron. Speaking of the double, I need this for finishing my armor set, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, so you've now got some agriculture. You got a lot of crops growing. Maybe you've got including maybe some potatoes and some carrots. Things are starting to rock and roll, right? You even have some armor. Maybe you're looking at upgrading your armor. Maybe you already have upgraded armor. And at this point, you really have all the pieces in place to go and start working on the bigger projects to really kind of rock and roll. But the Momentum Hump is that in-between state, right? Where you have all the stuff you need to survive the night and maybe the next couple days, but you don't yet have sustainable agriculture. You still have no armor. You have stone tools or wooden tools. And it's that in-between state that is not quite so fun, quite frankly. It's and it happens in almost all games. Some games are worse than others, but my point in all this is that part, like I said, it's not fun, and it can kind of drag you down. And I didn't really think about it in those terms until recently, because, at the moment I have 6 Let's Plays in the air, and with the exception of the Raft Let's Play, which just started, I'm just now coming off the momentum hump of the other 5. And I didn't realize, because I'm rotating among them, right? So I've put enough time to get through the momentum hump on, a few of them. But actually, I put enough time in to get past the momentum hump on almost all of them. But if I had just been concentrating on one game instead of 5 and now 6, I would have finished the momentum hump a long time ago. But I was doing 5 at a time, now 6, and I hit the momentum hump on all of them. And of course, it took a long time to get out of the momentum hump of some or all of them, and that's where we're at now. So it's exciting to me, but it's also kind of a revelation, right? This is never done that before, and I was surprised at how it affected me psychologically. It could, kind of drain you. But the problem, the problem, such as it is we're past that. So now my problem, if you want to call it that, is the excitement in all of those worlds, even Raft, where I'm raring to go, right? I mean, I'm not quite ready to rock and roll, but I'm close. In Greifenhorst, we have reached the level and it's excavated some space for storage, so that's on the near horizon. New Londinium, the storage network's in place, and now we just need to create a mess of drawers in which to keep all the stuff that we got. And here, right, I'm on the verge of actually having armor, which is great, because up until last episode, up until last episode, or up until the episode before last episode, I had no armor, and then I had a magical chainmail coif, which you can see in my inventory there, but that's not going to cut it. And so last episode I got the helmet and chest plate for a defensive set of tactical armor from Le Raison tactical armor mod. So it looks cool. I look like a miniature Master Chief from Halo, and by the looks of it, I think a full suit of this stuff is equivalent to diamond armor. So, and then once we enchant that, oh boy, things are gonna go, and that's the excitement, because this world in particular, this is Terra Incognita, right? With the New Londinium, we've gone around that world quite a bit already, and yeah, it's kind of a typical Minecraft world. And Greifenhorst, we've gone around that world a bit, and it's not quite a typical Minecraft world. There's some weirdness in there that makes it worth, kind of fun and exciting to explore. But it's not radically different than what you might already be used to. But in this world, it's a broken and blasted landscape, the ruins of an urban environment. And so this, like I said, it's Terra Incognita. There's I've play tested this world generation system a little bit before I went whole hog and started the series, but I'm still finding new stuff out here, and so I'll be excited to be able to to go, leave the yard without adult supervision, because that's what the armor will allow us. And so that's all there. Plus, we are ready to start moving. With this compound in place, we have a safe place from which to build and gather resources. So when we get that windmill going, I have some different options for building cobblestone generators. So I'll explore those and I'll get some cobblestone generated. And then I have some different options for transforming that cobblestone into sand and gravel, which will get me my light gray concrete, which will be the primary building material for this space, right? So I'll need a mess of sand and a mess of gravel and I guess a mess of light gray. But this is all cool. Now, I looked again at the plan for this base, and this one's going to be a little bit different as far as dimensions, right? So I've already told you, or I think I've told you, that the horizontal breakdown or grid for this build will be based on the in-game chunks, which is like New Londinium, and that's kind of a departure from what I normally do. So, like you can see, you already see it here how I've laid it out, right? This is 2 chunks by 4 chunks. But where New Londinium has that same horizontal layout, the vertical layout is 16 block modules, and here it's 7. Right now, there's a couple different things going on there. In New Londinium, the scales actually fit for a city, so it's not individual buildings I'm thinking of, but rather the big open public spaces. And you know, we're gonna have multiple stories, but a lot of those multiple stories will be underground. So, you know, the 16 blocks vertically kind of fits into that, right? Because individual buildings won't have 16 block floors, but they'll fit within a 16 block floor. But here, this build is post-apocalyptic, so we've already gone through a modern era, and I think, you know, like if in your house you could, unless you're short, you could probably reach your arms up and maybe with your tippy toes reach the ceiling, right? It's not that high. It's if we're going to measure an imperial, you know, maybe 8 feet, and if we're measuring metric, it's like what, 1.9 meters? Oh no, it would be more than that, more like 2.2 meters, 2. I don't know, something like that. But it's a different scale in modern buildings, and so we're going to have that here, right? So I had to, when I made the plan, I had to lay things out differently. And the very bottom floor, the part that you can walk on, will be minus 58. And I think at the moment I've dug all the way down to where bedrock appears, which is minus 59. So that's all set. That's all perfect. The only thing missing is a mess of light concrete. Now, light gray concrete. I have some. And you know, I might put some down later to kind of get things started, but I'm going to need a whole lot more than that. And yeah. Now, something else I'd want to point out is if you watch my Greifenhorst series, well, if you watch any of my Minecraft series and have been watching for the past few months, you'll notice that in all 3 series, I have a problem with latency. You know, where I'm mining blocks and then nothing happens, and then I get one of the blocks and I have to mine all the rest over again. Latency. I have on repeated occasions talked about that and mentioned that it is distant horizons, and you know, I was living with that hassle because I love what Distant Horizons brings to the table. Now, I've had a few people kind of push back on that and say, how do you know it's Distant Horizon? I didn't have the problem and installed Distant Horizon, so I had the problem. And, the thing is I had really gone out of my way to minimize the settings with the Distant Horizons, and I was still having problems. So, and I knew it was Distant Horizons because also when I left the settings on default, the problem was unplayable. And when I minimized settings, I got to the state where I was playing, but having a lot of a frustration. Well, in the last episode of Gryphon Horse, it just got so bad, even when I hadn't made any changes to settings, then I said, okay, I'm just, going to live without. And that's what I'm doing right now. And so as you notice, we haven't had any latency. Now, it also means that I can't see a Distant Horizon. But I have maxed out my render radius to full 32 chunks. So we'll see how far that gets me. It won't be as spectacular. And in this particular world, I think we'll be missing some of that. But that being said, just because it's not as good doesn't mean it's bad, right? Once upon a time, being able to run a full 32 chunks was like pretty awesome. And yeah, I'm spoiled a little bit, but I think a 32 chunk render radius is probably still pretty good. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. But oh boy, it's just so much to do, so much great stuff happening. It's exciting. And I probably need to start paying a bit more attention to my fields and crops here. I kind of noticed because in both New Londinium and Gryphon Horse, I noticed I have quite a bit of bone meal, and that's great. It's useful stuff. Now here I don't I don't think I have any bone meal, and that's problematic for a couple different reasons. One, like I said, it's useful stuff, and I need that bone meal to create the rich soil, which is really going to help us in terms of foods and stuff. But even more importantly, a minute ago I said I need a lot of gravel and sand for my light gray concrete, but I also kind of joked that I would need a lot of light gray. But that's not really a joke, because I need to make light gray dye to make light gray concrete, and light gray concrete needs white dye, and the easiest way to get white dye is bone meal, right? So, oh boy, I am going to need a bunch of this stuff for multiple things in this world. So having spending spending a bit more time on my agriculture, even if I'm start producing excess, is great, because we can start converting that into bone meal, and then we will we'll be able to create all that crazy dye and everything else. And so, but again, we're on the verge of making things happen. So one of these chests has the seeds. No, that's seeds to plant. Where's my box of stuff that I'm already planted? Oh, here we go. That's kind of like my seed bank. In case of badness, I can go back there and start over again. And I got a diamond. The diamond's important. As I mentioned, to finish out my current set of armor, I'm going to need a mess of iron, and I'm working on that. But I'm going to need diamonds. I think I need like I don't know, 2 or 3 diamonds for each of the pieces. Let's see. So the legs. Oh, okay. So I need 13 iron, and okay. So for the legs, I need 13 iron and 2 diamonds, and for the feet, I need 2 leather and 2 diamonds. Leather shouldn't be a problem. I mean, none of it should be a problem per se, except the leather should be easy to get, easy peasy. The iron, I've already gotten a bit, and that shouldn't be too hard to get. The diamonds, that's probably the thing that's going to slow me down because, diamonds. If you play Minecraft, you know what I'm talking about. But the thing here is I've got the mineral chances mod, so just mining through the natural stone types gives me a chance of producing extra minerals and goodies, including diamonds, so that's an opportunity. And I think I'll do the digging down at the bedrock level where diamonds might be found naturally. So I think it's all very doable this episode, and that'd be nice. Looking forward to it. But to get that leather, we're going to need to go to my little secret hideaway where we have our cows stashed. If you missed that episode, I didn't stash them there. I found this little building on the side of a hill or mountain, and heard mooing. Went to investigate, and I found a couple cows and a sheep trapped in this little building on the side of the mountain. And so I left them there because it keeps them safe, it keeps them contained, and it's a little inconvenient to get to, but that's okay. So there you go. As you can see, looking on the horizon, I don't see as far as I used to. And since it doesn't quite show what it used to, it kind of had that hazy light, which I kind of dig. It kind of reminds me of growing up in an area of poor air quality back in the day. Yeah, I lived in Southern California in the 70s and 80s, and you could chew the air. So I remember a lot of days like that. Nice sunny day, blue sky, mostly, kind of, sort of. But as you started to come down towards the horizon, it got brown, or at least hazy. So, hey kids, feeding time. Excuse me. There we go. Of course, I hope you enjoyed it. For a couple of you, it'll be the last meal you get. Hey kid, I don't want to hurt you yet. Okay, I need somebody to kind of do that. Whoa, 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 whoa. Get out of the way, kid. Yummy. It's kind of funny. Like I mentioned, I'm playing multiple Let's Plays. And when I killed the cow, see, I got some animal fat. And I saw the animal fat. And I instantly got all excited about the animal fat. And it is kind of useful stuff in modern Minecraft. It comes from Farmer's Delight. But the reason I was excited was actually because, in playing Vintage Story, animal fat's a thing. And there's a lot fewer uses, but those uses are extremely important. And I got it's like, oh, animal fat. That's not that game. It's a different game. So I'm not as excited as I was, but still another. Whoa, 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 whoa. Who's got the... whoa, 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 whoa. I did not mean to do that. I certainly don't want to get wounded and drop myself where the bad... Ooh, iron. Where the bad guys are. So maybe I meant to do that. Yeah. I don't know who was making the noise. I mean, I shouldn't panic too much. It's daylight. Well, I should panic. It's daylight because zombies make that noise, yeah. But the atomic, I think it's atomic strikers that makes them make that noise. And so So it could be anything, right? Even creepers make that noise. So, which, in my humble opinion, I'm kind of thankful for. I like that. Spiders make that noise too, which doesn't make sense, but I'll go with it. Nice. Whoa. Somebody's got... That is a dog, but somebody's making a bunch of... There we go. Oh. It's coming in like a little torpedo. Back off. So back off. Interesting. So, that was a goblin zombie, and I have those in this world, and I have them in Greifenhorst. Now, in Greifenhorst, they make all the zombie noises, and they're supposed to be hostile. But in Greifenhorst, they just kind of run around making the zombie noises, and I can stand right next to them. They couldn't care less. This guy came right at me, just like one of those little, zombie kids, and clearly he had it out for me. So don't know why the behavior changed, but actually it's the way he's supposed to act. So that's cool. Good with that. Not real fond of chunks of zombified goblin meat, but find something to do with it. Maybe I can compost it. So we're gonna need dirt. Whoa! Don't want to fall again. Don't want to fall again. What did the Who say? Won't be fooled again. Oh. Missed the Who. I had a friend who was really big into the Who, and I mean, she had always been a big Who fan. And then when they did their farewell tour, she made a really big deal about going, and she went, and she loved it and stuff. And then they got back together a while later and had another farewell tour. And for a lot of us who weren't into the Who, I mean, enjoy the Who, but I wasn't totally into them. It's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Old rock and roller, and the bank account's getting a little thin. Let's go get the band back together and top up the savings account. But that hit her hard. So she felt betrayed, like they sold out. Yeah, well, you get into your 60s. Your future looks a whole lot different than it did before, I'll tell you that. Presumably. I'm not in my 60s yet. Oh, got some iron up here, so we'll get that too, because, even the government says you need a daily dose of iron. I don't know how much longer they'll say that with the budget cuts and such, and the attack on science. Pretty soon they'll probably tell you things like, drink bleach, it's good for you. Ooh, they already did that. Sorry. Ooh, a lot of iron. A lot of iron. Good. Now, even though I have enough iron. I just need diamonds. So let's get back to the hacienda. So look at this. This is a pretty cool looking city, right? And I think it'll be even better when we restore this, right? I think it'll be cool looking, because not only will we restore it, but the whole point for me of a Let's Play is that you not just that you're playing in survival, but my goal is to build a living and breathing world, right? And if we can build a city, a well-lit city with free from monsters spawning and stuff, and maybe even some roving guards and such, and it looks good and looks big. I mean, that's the holy grail. I probably mentioned it. I know I've mentioned it on some series, but once upon a time, I would have probably been one of those guys who converted his whole house to a model train set, right? A huge diorama. I just dig that. But you see, one of the problems about that was that, except for the most part, it's a static display, right? You put a building, and then you put little stick guys down, and the little stick guys, they will be wherever you put them, and that's where they'll remain forever. The Miniature Wonderland in Germany, that one's different. They've gone out of their way to try to animate wherever possible, and even then, it's limited animation, but that's probably what I would have been doing. But you see, I live in the digital age. I grew up in the digital age, so, I have a different standard because I can get the digital equivalent. Oh, I have more than enough iron. Oh, yeah. I just need 13 iron. Of course, I gotta change 9 of them into a block. It's diamonds, though. They're still biting me in the butt. But, But like Minecraft is an example of how you can create a digital world, and I've got villagers and stuff, and these guys exist within that world, and they go and they do stuff. Now, in the case of villagers, it's not much, and it's not particularly useful, but it is something, right? And that's the part that makes me happy. I mean, when I was a little kid, I had like Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars. And I know I've explained in the past how I would terraform the backyard, much to my mom's chagrin, including flooding parts of it to make lakes and rivers. But, I'd build roads and fences and all this type of stuff out of twigs and sticks. And then I had my Matchbox cars to going down those roads. But the problem was, it's a Matchbox car. It doesn't go anywhere unless I put my hand on it and drive it manually somewhere, right? That's how those things work. And this digital space, I can build the roads and a network and buildings and all that, and then my little digital citizens will go off and do all the driving and interactions, and I can sit back and watch them. And, see if the systems work like I expected them to. So that's the awesome part to me, right? When we play multiplayer, I don't play multiplayer much, and I don't play as much as I used to. But that was my role, right? Because I'm a nurturer, right? If you ever take those psychological personality tests, I always come up as a nurturer. I come up as a nurturer and a networker and all this weird stuff. And the funny thing is I always come up right on the borderline between introvert and extrovert. So don't ask me how that works out, but it does. But I'm a nurturer. So like when we used to play Teams 2 is a first-person shooter, except that was it Teams 2? Tribes 2. That's it. And but Tribes we were playing it multiplayer. It's basically capture the flag. So we had the guys who were trying to be the heroes, and they're running off to go into the enemy space, grab the flag, and come back. I was the guy back at our base that was defending it from the other bad guys, and I was setting up defenses, or I would jump in the vehicles and I'd run support, right? I'd be the bus driver. But that was always my thing, is I wanted to facilitate systems so that others could then use them, right? And then when I do play multiple players, like say Minecraft or whatever, we get quickly past the Momentum Hump because there's a bunch of us, and then while everyone else is off exploring or trying to get to the end or whatever, they're bringing materials back. But every time they come back, they'll find that now we got a bunch of storage. Boom! Now we have our own bedrooms. Boom! Hey, look at this. We have like 15 different fields that produce different stuff, because that's what I'm doing, right? I'm playing the support role because it's kind of a happy circumstance. The stuff that I really dig doing is the stuff that a lot of people don't enjoy at all. So, as I said before, it's a classic, Reese's Buttercup moment. You got chocolate my peanut butter, I got peanut butter in your chocolate, but it works, right? It's a happy marriage. So that's what I like to do. Back when I was single, it wasn't just computer games on like this, right? When I was single, I had friends at work and stuff. We did stuff together all the time, and I like to cook, right? But cooking, for one, is kind of a bother. And what's more to the point, I was young, and everyone else was young, and most of them couldn't cook. Many of them didn't want to cook. So we had this happy marriage again, right? So I would basically say on Fridays, I would make a meal. Just let me know if you're coming, so I know to make sure I get enough. And depending on what the meal was, I'd say, give me, $2 each, or $4 each, or $6 each. Depending, if we're having steak, it would be $6 each. But, and I cook for everybody, and and everybody come over. We have a great meal. Then we watch a movie. We'll play Xbox or Dreamcast, because this is how long ago we're talking, right? But yeah, and that was just my thing. I was always that way, right? Ask my cousins. I was lucky enough that my cousins grew up near us, and so they came to visit quite frequently. And we had a big backyard and a big driveway, with the big backyard that I flooded. But when they'd come over, we'd do stuff like we'd ride our bikes in the backyard and stuff. But I would set it up. I was like, I'm the fourth oldest out of 12 or 13 cousins. So, I was older than most of them. And so when they'd all come over, I would use chalk and I'd draw lanes, and I'd set up they weren't real stoplights, but I'd set up, red, yellow, green, wooden stoplight things. And I tried to make a version of Disneyland in her backyard, which was basically pulling my little cousins around in a wagon while we go past these static displays of rubber spiders and stuff I had set up to try to simulate the Jungle Cruise. But this is the thing that I did, right? I'd make treasure hunts for them, the treasure hunt, right? I had oh gosh, my mom was a crafty type back in those days when she was a stay-at-home mom. And beads, in the 60s and early 70s, a lot of people had beads in their house, like bead walls, right? So that you could pass through the beads but kind of have a wall or whatever. And we had one of those in our kitchen. But when they were looking at buying beads, they had bought a bunch of sample strings of beads. And a lot of those sample strings of beads, they were just like geometric shapes, but they were of a clear, colored, translucent plastic, right? So they look like gems. And so you cut them all separately from their strings, and you have a bunch of cheap plastic gem-looking things. And I had some phony plastic coins, so that's my treasure, right? And then I'd hide it someplace around the yard or in the house. And then I would either make a treasure map that my cousins had to decipher to find it, or I would leave clues, right? I'd leave a map to a clue, and then from then on to have written clues and stuff. That's what I did, because this is this weird compulsive need I have to take care of people, which works out well now because I'm married and have kids. So I take care of them, right? My wife doesn't really cook, which is both a blessing and a curse. But and I got the kids, so I take care of them, and that gets most of it out of my system. But I still like sharing. I still like supporting people, making people happy. That's my thing. And if you ever work, so now I think that brings me up to 3 diamonds total. So we're almost there. And if you ever worked with me, you know that I do stuff like that at work too. Like when we have a physical office space together, you always figure out my desk because it's the one where either there's a bowl of candy on it, right, for everyone to share, or you know, something similar like that. And in places where the candy bowl gets ravaged at an unreasonable rate, I will keep the candy locked up, but then, you know, a couple times a day I'll just take a bowl of candy around to everybody in the office, say, hey, you want one? Take some. Because let's face it, some of us might like our jobs, but I'm willing to bet the vast majority of us wouldn't do our jobs if they weren't paying us, right? So with that said, anything we can do to make the job more pleasant, the day more interesting, and, you know, make people happy, why don't we do it? Because we're kind of all stuck in there together, so let's make the best of it. And there's something to be said for that, because I've had jobs where they pay you a lot of money, the hours are great, the benefits are great, but everybody you work with is a complete and utter schmuck. I couldn't stay at the job, right? And I've worked at other jobs where the work was hard. We were working shift work. It's crazy, a lot of pressure. But not just me, but other people were doing the types of things I was just describing, and they were great people. I stayed at that job. I stayed at that job right up to the point where they took the team apart. Because yeah, it was sucky work, but it's the people that make a difference. But it took me a bunch of years to learn that. So I'm telling you now. So if you're young, just, you know, put that into your mental filing cabinet. Keep it in mind, and, you know, maybe someday act on it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the results. You know, there was another guy I worked with for a while. He was a lot like me, and he was awesome. And he had raised his kids to be the same way. They were awesome. I remember at Christmas time, his kids had made a bunch of homemade toffee and peanut brittle. And, it was so good. But wait, that's not all, right? He brought that stuff to work to share, and for each person on the team, he gave you a little handmade box. Little holiday handmade box that his kids made, full of peanut brittle and toffee, right? And that's just how the family rolled. I mean, those guys were awesome. They were those type of people do exist. You hear, you know, in the news. Just remember, the news is a slice of what's going on. It's not the whole story. Whoa. Speaking of whole story, there's lava coming through my whole story. Here we go. Well, that sucks. Okay. Hold that thought. The combat lava, I mean, I'm not in the nether, so I'm pretty sure that I'm not tapping into the bottom of a 15 or 20 foot or block deep sea of lava. It might be a lava lake or something, but we're in the overworld, so it's going to be 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 blocks deep. The easiest way to deal with lava, regardless of dimension, is to get above it. I mean, you can deal with it from the bottom, but you know, that's how I lost all my hair. So you don't want. It's much easier to just tackle it from above. I can hear it. Ooh, I was a little open and exposed here. Thought I felt something, a draft on the back of my head. Okie dokie. I don't know how far over this thing is. We can probably trim this a bit. Wow, I'm getting a lot of other stuff besides diamonds. Nice, nice, nice. Just excited about the potential. Okay, let's figure out measurement wise. I'm at 7.7. Okay. 7.7. So if I go down here, where am I at? I'm at 1.2. So I'm basically 6 blocks away. Yeah, I should probably clear the screen there. Okay. There we go. I hear it. I see it. I feel it. Ooh, gold. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. You don't want to get burned if it's lava starts rushing in. Well, it's overworld. Lava doesn't rush anywhere. In the nether lava rushes, you bet your sweet bippy. Okay. Don't know if I took care of it completely. We're about to find out. We'll need to take care of more of it later anyway, but for now. Survey says, nope, 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 nope. Still no. There we go. That works for now. It's not a torch. That's a torch. Okay. Okay, so that lines up good. So when my kids were little, I tried to do all that stuff for them, and I did a little bit, but the thing is, at that point we had twins, which having a kid can be exhausting. Having twins or triplets, God forbid, takes exhausting to a whole new level. And you know, and it was a tough time for us economically, and you know, my wife was going through a life stage that made everything more difficult, and so I didn't always have the time, energy, or mindset to do cool stuff for them. But when I did, oh, they loved it. They absolutely loved it. So, yep. The problem, I guess that's kind of like how I wound up being the referee or the DM all the time in tabletop role-playing games, is because it's the same thing. I love setting up situations for others. I mean, like with the channel, right? I create the type of videos I want to see. When as a DM or a referee, I create the scenarios and storylines I would like to play. Now, the only problem is that I can't. I'm not the player. I'm the referee. So I already know what's coming. I already know what's behind every door. And I just have to get my enjoyment from watching the others try to figure it all out. And trust me, there is a lot of enjoyment. It is enough enjoyment to make it worthwhile. So I'm not complaining there. I just think it's more enjoyable when you're living it yourself, right? Like, what's more enjoyable, watching a movie about somebody doing some adventure or going on the adventure, right? Where you're making the decisions and you're right there. Well, I think the answer's obvious. That's why I've been watching movies and playing video games my entire life. But as time has gone on, the emphasis has slowly shifted away from TV and movies. I still watch stuff and focus more and more on video games because I think that's where the full potential comes from. I'm just tired. I think I might have mentioned it in another series too. I don't play computer role-playing games because it's the computer administrating the game, and their ability to interact and handle different options is limited, right? I find it constricting. I can't really tell or do a compelling story or do the things I want, right? I'm working within the restrictive framework of a curated environment, right? That's the way to say it. It's the computer can only handle certain. Oh, look at all that! They're expecting inputs. There's a limited number of options. Choose one of those options, and 9 times out of 10, the options they offer me are not appealing to me. These are not the options I would want to choose, right? I want to do something else, especially because, I don't necessarily want to go and kill everybody or go and be their errand boy and pick up stuff, right? I mean, I want more complex interactions than that. And that's what a lot of the quests come down to. Go kill something or go get something. And the computer can handle that just fine, but I prefer a little more complexity. And I think where I was learning that, but I think the guy who taught that to me, oh my gosh, the guy who taught that to me more effectively than anything else before that was a guy named Paul. He was a guy from work. We had a D&D game from just guys at work, and I was the DM because that's usually my role. And Paul played a thief, a rogue, right? And he was awesome. His rogue was a bit of a dandy. He liked the finer things in life. He was a rogue because he really didn't want to work for a living. He liked taking the easy way out. So I just remember, like, the party is all, they went to an inn and they got their information from the locals, and they said, okay, we're going to get up at 6 in the morning. And Paul's character's like, I'm not getting up at 6 in the morning. They're like, yeah, we're getting up at 6 in the morning. And then they went to the rooms. And of course, Paul's character, preferring the finer things in life, got his own room, the finest room in the place. And then at 6 in the morning, the rest of the party's assembling. There's no sign of Paul's character. None. And they go, look, he's in bed. And he, like he said, he wasn't getting up. No way. And then they're like, come on, we got it. He's like, no. And by the time they left, it was like 8:30 or 9. But the thing is he was role-playing it so beautifully. It made it so much more fun than just like, we walk into the inn, we talk to a guy, we leave, or like there's a monster, kill it, grab his stuff, move. He made this an interactive storytelling session, and it was a blast, right? I mean, his interactions when we went to the inn, right? Because like, okay, well, let's order, and they're like, it's a small village, they don't have a lot, so like, what do you got? We got ale, we got this. Well, Paul's character's like, okay, well, do you have this type of wine? He's like, well, we don't have any wine. It's like, okay, well, can what you got to eat? And like, well, we got this bread and we've got a roast going and stuff. He's like, well, okay, how done's the roast? Like, it's been on the spit all day, it's pretty well done. No, I don't want that. I want a roast that is medium rare. He's just made oh my gosh, excuse me. It was fun, but you see, that is where the value is. You can't get a computer game to do that. You can't get a computer game to handle that, right? And that was just Paul. And after a while, the way Paul was playing it started to inspire the other players. And everybody started to really develop a deep... Oh my gosh, there's my diamonds. Anyhow, everybody started to develop a deeper understanding and personality of their characters, and then we started getting these classic interactions in the party and the interpersonal relationships, and then this was just fun, right? It's like watching one of your favorite sci-fi or fantasy shows where you got all these different characters that interact against with each other, not necessarily against, and it's just fun, right? Because they become like family. You love them all. Even the cranky ones. It was just a lot of fun. So I think I have all the bits now to complete my suit of armor, and at that ready, I'm ready to go dancing. I'm ready to tango. So I'm sure that we'll find plenty of opportunities to do just that. There's the iron. Here's my diamonds. I got a bunch of weird stuff. I think I need to put stuff away. I think I also need to start making storage drawers because, there's just no way I'm going to be able to keep track of all this deep slate and chests, right? I need to. And I didn't realize I hadn't found any zinc. I mean, I do remember complaining about not finding zinc, so I guess I shouldn't. I don't remember it, but I shouldn't be surprised. I had to use iron to make andesite alloy, and normally in a create-enabled world, you find enough zinc that I can make all the andesite alloy I want with zinc. At least I think so. Oh, gosh. This is just going to be one of those days. Oh, I guess we're almost done with this episode. So I guess you won't have to put up with me much longer. So, but in the meanwhile, I'm still here. And besides the armor, I think it's time to make that calendar. The reason I want to make a calendar, and the reason I wanted to make a clock is as I spend a lot of time underground, I don't know what's going on the surface. But in the Greifenhorst episode, we made the discovery that Serene Seasons had apparently done an update, and they blew away how they handle the config file, and so my calendar was set back to defaults. Oh, I need to make a block, and it also reset the beginning of the year. So I've gone and fixed all that in New Londinium and Greifenhorst in here. Just wanted to make sure of that. Now we shouldn't have a problem. And look at this. Does that look sharp or what? That's not your grandfather's Minecraft, I'll tell you that. Of course, the stone sword kind of diminishes the overall cool factor. See a guy in tactical armor ready to take on the world, and he's holding a stone sword, and you're like, well, I think I don't think there's as much fear here as I thought. Okay. I need to pull stuff out of the backpack still. I got a bunch of food stuff, and leather stuff, and fat stuff. I don't know why. It's subliminal, but when I said fat stuff, the first thing that popped into my head was Oreos. Oreo cookies. My unconscious is trying to tell me something, which is unfortunate because I love Oreos, and now, so maybe my subconscious is trying to tell me, hey, don't eat Oreos, you get fat. But now that my subconscious is planted in my conscious is like, you know what sounds really good right now? A whole stack of Oreos and a big glass of milk. Welcome to my world. Okay. Okay. What did I just pick up? I don't know. Okay. Big slab of goblin zombie meat. And then, you know, we can start placing at least some placeholder blocks down at the bottom. Not quite ready to start fleshing out the central core. So there's with the architect table, and I'm going to need some slabs and iron. And let's see. Oh, I've got an architect table and a mason's table, so never mind. Let's grab the mason's table. This is from the chip mod. The chip mod brings a whole lot of variety through the use of different crafting stations. This one's mason's table, deals with stones and stuff, and you can see I can take my plain old boring light gray concrete blocks and auto-magically transform them into a number of interesting variants. And what's more, this is the thing I love about the chip mod, you can change them back. So a lot of mods will transform a block into some new variant, and that's it. It's a one-way trip. Hope you enjoy it. The chip mod says, no, you can bring them back and do what they were before. So if anybody on the development team of the chip mods hearing this, let me just say thank you, right? You guys rock. I kind of get the feeling like maybe you've played the game. So cool. Thank you. Okay, so I got a bunch. Basically, it's like polished concrete. And if that sounds weird, there is such a thing. In our neighborhood, in our sector, a lot of grocery stores and big box stores, they used to have a, see, it looks a little bit better than a normal concrete block. They used to just have concrete floors, but then they put like linoleum tiling or something on it. I mean, that's very traditional, right? Since the 30s and 40s. But I don't know. In the 90s and the 2000s, they started ripping up that linoleum tile, and then the underlying concrete they just sanded and blasted down till it was highly polished, and then they throw a sealer on it, and it doesn't look bad. I mean, in terms of cost, it's probably, it looks better and is cheaper to maintain than the linoleum floor. I get that, but the thing is in most cases these buildings were built when they fully intended to hide the concrete with a linoleum floor. So you find that the concrete, in some cases, you know, like where they had concrete, the original concrete, and then they had to run some extra pipes or something. So they tore up the concrete, they laid the pipes, then they filled it in with new concrete. But the new concrete wasn't exactly like the old concrete. So, but now that you've taken away your linoleum flooring, it's visible to the whole world. And in fact, we put a nice polish on it. So it just looks weird. I mean, definitely has an industrial vibe, obviously, but it's just weird. It's just weird. And For a minute, I thought that was my stomach. But okay. We've got company. Oh, I didn't realize I left this open. Again, we have company, and I don't want them accidentally wandering in on top of my head. Not yet, at least. Though I am fully armored, so I guess maybe it's not such a big deal. Gotta try this thing. See, I've got all my armored bits showing. So I believe it's the equivalent of, you know, if fully all your armor icons in place, that's what, diamond, right? And nether's a little more, and iron is a little less. So my tactical armor is roughly equivalent to diamond. Check my chunks. Dude, you should take something for that cold you got. Okay, so I think we're done down there for now. It'd be nice to have an elevator. What is this? Heavy armor. And then it's got an infinity symbol. Or it has an 8 that fell over. I mean, either way, I don't know what that means. Heavy armor. What is the effect? Am I walking slower? Does that feel... I don't feel like I'm walking slower. Let's see. Maybe I'm slower. Maybe I'm slower. I don't know. I need to race somebody. See if they can pass me. But this has been a productive session. I'm thrilled with the progress. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And more to the point, I hope you enjoyed it enough to come back next time. So we're gonna make more progress. We're on the downhill side of the Momentum Hump. So look at that armor. Okay, so even have an antenna. Don't have a radio, but I have an antenna. You know, it's not what you can do, it's how you look, I guess. But anyway, I will be back. I hope you'll be back with me. And until then, I hope this finds you and yours in good health, good spirits, and perhaps a touch of good fortune. Cheers.